Welcome, everyone. This is Cami.
And this is Steph.
This is the War Dolls podcast.
Today we have fellow Wardall and devoted Battletech player Deanne with us. Deanne, welcome to the War Dolls podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're glad to have you.
You were one of the many people that I met at the Hobby Hang at Adepticon. Tell us about your Adepticon experience, what brought you to the Hobby Hang / meetup, and why you decided to join the War Dolls.
Well, this was my very first Adepticon, and I would go so far as to say it was my first real convention ever. I went to, a couple conventions of this type before. My very small town has one kind of like it, but we're talking maybe 200 people rather than the thousands. So I was nervous but excited. I did not realize when I went to, get tickets and sign up that everything sold out so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the things I was excited to do, mainly the Battletech events, they were sold out except for Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. I was still excited to go. I thought because this is my first time ever going to a convention like this that I would give myself a day or two anyway to just show up and experience everything. Walked the market quite a few times. I want to say I went around there probably, half a dozen times. And went and looked at all of the other tournaments. It was awesome. Really great experience, but very, very overwhelming, especially that first day. I drove up Thursday morning with one of my buddies, and it was a 4-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy does not drive, so I did all of the driving. And Chicago was rough. I'm not good stuck in a little car for a really long time, so that was a bit rough. But showed up Thursday, walked all the floors, spent some money, had a great time. And then Thursday was the Hobby Hang, the meetup.
Mm-hmm.
When I was looking at events to sign up, I saw the meetup. It was advertised as a gender minority meetup, and I was like, ooh, that's me. I fall into that criteria. So
Yep.
signed up, and I was very excited for that. Um, back home, my local crew that I game with, my community, it is, I'm the only woman there. So being able to meet other women and other, non-binary people and trans men as well who play, these games and are into these hobbies as well, and being able to connect with them, I thought would be a very interesting experience, and something that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
But I got there, and Steph, you were the first person I talked to. Well, you talked to me because I stood in the corner awkwardly. But you came up and you said hi and you welcomed us and you talked about the War Dolls and it sounded awesome. And I mean, y'all have a Discord, which is great because Discord is, one of the apps I use the most to talk to people. So that was just an easy adjustment. And the Hobby Hang that you guys talked about, where you get on a call and you paint together or do whatever hobbies together every week, sounded awesome. Sounded right up my alley. So grabbed a sticker, signed up, and it was a very, very long Thursday. So I wish I could have stayed out longer, but I was just so tired.
Yeah.
tired and overwhelmed. I just been around people all day, like more people than I see in a month. So I had to split.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
I'm really glad that you came to that meetup, and I met so many awesome people that evening, and I had so much fun introducing the Wordalls to new people and recruiting people into the Discord, and it was such a great night.
So tell us about your gaming journey, how you got started in it, and what games you started with, and probably what brought you around to Battletech.
Yeah, sure. So my gaming journey started around middle school. Uh, Me and one of my good friends, what we liked to do together was design games. So we would design board games, we designed video games, um, uh, just like study hall. We'd be down there and drawing something up. And he brought one day up that his dad had some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and I'd never heard of it. So went to his house. Uh, he DM'd once. It's not a great experience because he wanted all the players to die in the one shot. But I thought the idea of the game was so interesting that uh, from there, that kind of influenced what games we were trying to make. At one point, we tried to take army men and write rules for each of the models and how they'd play on a tabletop. And I, at this point, had never heard of tabletop war games. You know, like I just learned about D&D, never heard of Warhammer, never heard of BattleTech. You know, the whole concept, the idea that this thing existed out there, I had no idea. You know, I kind of grew up under a rock. So I did that through high school. D&D was not allowed at my school. I went to a very conservative school, like a no dancing kind of school. So
Oh,
Dungeons
wow.
and Dragons was a suspendable offense. I almost got suspended once just for having a dungeon map that I was looking at. Um, so I wrote my own RPG that was D&D adjacent that I would play with my friends. Fast forward to college, I actually, had a job, got some money, and actually got into D&D 5e for a little bit. Played that, but what really, really hooked me into playing war games was Star Wars X-wing. At that point, it was Fantasy Flight Games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so got into X-wing because really I just wanted the models. Um, I always loved Star Wars, huge Star Wars nerd, and the Lambda shuttle is my favorite spaceship of all time, of any IP. And I found the model just randomly. And it's like I have that. After getting that, it had all the game pieces that I kind of just put aside, but I couldn't just do nothing with them. I paid for the game pieces too, so I decided to give it a try. And that was late 2014, so just over 10 years ago. Um, and I played X-Wing for years and years. Competitive was okay, but there is a fan-made campaign, like a narrative campaign supplement for X-Wing called Heroes of the Aturi Cluster that allows you to take your spaceships, instead of playing against your buddy, you and a bunch of other buddies do a mission against an AI. It's kind of like Imperial Assault, if you know what
Yes.
that is.
Yep, I'm a big fan of Imperial Assault. We play the campaigns cooperatively all the time.
Oh yeah, like still today you play it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're big Imperial Assault players, especially with the fan made stuff from the IACP community. We're big players.
So that community, are they still releasing new stuff for Imperial Assault?
Yes. Yep.
Like to this day? That's awesome.
To
I'll
this
have
day,
to.
they're still coming out with new stuff. Yeah.
I need to get those links from you then, because
I'll share them. Yep. I'll send you their website link.
awesome. Yeah, my X-wing group ended up playing Imperial Assault for a little bit, so that was like my second war game. I know you could play it semi-competitively, but um,
Mhm.
the campaign structure, that's what I really loved. I mean, coming
Yep.
from playing D&D and making my own version, being able to have that campaign system was great. And I'm not like a competitive gamer. I like facing challenges with my friends, and in the end, we all win and we high five and everyone feels good.
I love that.
Um,
That's how I play my video games. I really prefer multiplayer games where you can work together.
Mhm.
absolutely,
So I get that completely.
absolutely. That's the reason why the only home console I'll ever have is a Switch, because I feel like it's the best for couch co-op gaming.
Yep.
You know, absolutely. So anyway, X-wing. How it leads me into BattleTech is after college, I lived in a town and there were no game shops, so I had to drive all the way to the nearest city, about half an hour, 40 minutes to play. And I played X-wing a good bit, you know, a little bit before the pandemic, and then a couple years after, maybe 2022, I picked it back up. Um, but then when I moved to my new town, I asked if I could host like an X-wing demo or something, and the guy was so excited about the idea. Um, and I get there, I'm nervous, new town, new people, never met anyone before, and they had a little pride flag on the door, which I just thought was so cool.
Mhm.
Um, and I went in there and I met the friends I have now, and they're the reason I've gotten into every other game since. um, played some Legion. Um, I've got a full CIS painted force that I haven't put on the table in way too long. Um, but had a lot of fun building those droids. And then uh, I begrudgingly at first got into Battletech. Everyone assured me that it would be something I loved, but I was really big into spaceships, not
Mhm.
stompy robots. Um, but just playing the game, I fell in love with the way that it plays. Um, and it it's it's been my obsession ever since. Um, I want to say about a year and a half, 2 years. Uh, I've been doing almost nothing but BattleTech, and typically my special interests kind of rotate from one thing to the next. It'll be Star Wars, then it'll be like 6 months later it'll be Jurassic Park, and then 3 months later it'll be fantasy, D&D, and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Then I'll come back to Star Wars, but BattleTech has been going strong for a while now.
You're speaking my language.
Right?
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
Jurassic Park.
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on Jurassic Park.
Have you ever heard of the game Unmatched?
Yes.
It's
Only
like a
because I think there's a Jurassic Park version.
yes, and I have both of them.
Oh
And
my gosh. Is it good?
yes, I always play the T-Rex.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Always.
Important though, can you play as a Dilophosaurus?
No, right now there's 4 characters currently for Jurassic Park. There's the T-Rex, the Raptors, um, Ellie Sattler, and Muldoon.
Really? Not Alan
Yeah.
Grant. That's fair though.
No.
Muldoon's my favorite. I love
Yeah.
Muldoon.
Yeah. But I always play as the T-Rex because nothing beats the T-Rex.
You gotta love Rexy.
Yeah. I'm actually getting ready to paint her this week on Twitch. I'm really excited
I
because
must be
we
thinking
are
of something else. Sorry, go ahead.
no. So me and my husband are actually playing a unmatched team event at Origins in a couple weeks, and the T-Rex is one of the characters that we're taking for that team event. So I need to paint
That
her.
that is fantastic, and I must have been thinking of something else. I didn't realize there were models.
Yeah.
Hold on.
New
Hold
addiction
on. I am writing
forming.
this down. I had my notes. I've okay. Unmatched, you said it is.
Unmatched. Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh. There was a I was super excited. There was a Jurassic Park tabletop war game Kickstarter that I found
Hmm.
like 8 years ago that I was super excited about, and I didn't pay money into, which thank goodness, because it's a scam.
Oh.
They got a bunch of really cool STLs that they like put out,
Mm-hmm.
and for their reward tiers and stuff, but they haven't produced anything. Nobody
Hmm.
who backed it has got anything, and it's supposed to come out like 6 years ago, which is super sad.
Oh
But
my gosh.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
yeah,
So, being that you've played X-Wing for so long, does any of that experience translate into how you play Battletech?
yes, absolutely, it does. I was actually surprised by how similar the games play from like a mechanics standpoint. Both X-Wing and Battletech, the way that they approach, your rounds, you have a movement phase where you take turns strategically moving people around the board, and then once everyone's moved, you take turns shooting each other. Um, there's the aspect of building your force where you can pick out whatever looks the coolest to you. What's your pet favorite starship versus what's your pet favorite BattleTech mech or tank or whatever it is. And then once you have that, then you look at what loadouts you want to use. And X-Wing, it might be talents or torpedoes or mods. In BattleTech, you might be looking at different variants. This one's a sniper, this one's a missile boat. Very, very similar. And what ended up selling me on BattleTech was there's a lot of supplements out there for BattleTech that are very narrative campaign focused. Um, there is a scene for people who just make the most optimized force they can and you fight each other, but just the way that Battletech works, at least classic, to um, clarify for any listeners who know Battletech, there's classic and there's Alpha Strike. I'm talking about the classic, the old school, big old piece of paper with all the bubbles on them kind of Battletech.
That's what I grew up on. I was going to ask you as a follow up, do you play Classic or Alpha Strike?
I've played both. Very, very little Alpha Strike. Um, I play a lot of classic. Alpha Strike is good for what it is. I just feel like classic tells a story, right? Where you have over the course of a fight, because damage goes to specific places on your mech um, during the fight, you're having armor come off certain places. And now I'm thinking, okay, this guy's left arm doesn't have any armor left on it. I need to maneuver in such a way to protect that left side, or you'll have, a machine gun, a weak gun that only does 2 damage, but you roll a crit and it goes through the armor and it hits the ammunition and the ammunition explodes and then, the mech blows up. Sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles in Battletech, and I just love that
Very
uh,
true. Very
that
true.
that flair that the battles bring. And because of that flair, because that can happen just at the whims of the dice, I feel like Battletech has much less of a toxic meta, mindset that some other games can, suffer from.
That's
There's
true. There's I won't say it's completely balanced, but in my experience, now granted this was ages ago, um, there was a lot of balance where because you have to, worry about your ammunition, your heat, your how much space it takes up. There you can min max it, but what part are you min maxing?
right. There's all the trade-offs, and in the end, the game has equalizers.
Right.
Getting shot in the head on your mech is bad. No matter what mech you are, no matter how heavy you are, how many points you spent on that mech, if you get shot in the head, you're in trouble.
You're in big trouble if it's a Gauss rifle.
Especially if it's, I cannot tell you how many times.
Right.
Oh, I I could talk about that for ages too. All
I,
all
I
the experiences,
I
but
could too. I could too. We kept back when I played. We kept up with your pilot stats, and I had a fantastic pilot, and he had an accident because of a cockpit hit underwater.
oh no.
Yep. So if for the listeners that may not know, if your armor is breached and it goes to the internal damage while you're in a hostile environment like water, um, your compartment floods, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very lonely in the underwater like that.
Yeah, it can be very bad when the water leaks into your legs or your arms, but
Right.
it's extra bad when it leaks into your cockpit.
Exactly. And you have the auto eject disabled.
Oh no. I mean, I know why you would do it, but
Right, because that one little SRM hit isn't gonna kill you, but it'll pop you out of your cockpit and you're down. So,
mhm.
but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I was gonna ask you which you prefer because there was no Alpha Strike when I played, so I am being sorely tempted though because the shop I work at, there is a campaign going and they're doing Alpha Strike, and I'm tempted, but I do love my bubbles.
Mhm.
Do you build mechs or do you use precons?
So I typically use precons when I'm playing with other people,
Okay, and
but
that's
I
everybody.
am a
That's using them directly out of the book.
right, the standard variants. Um, that said, I am a mech building fiend. I have more fun doing that almost than playing the game
Right?
sometimes.
Okay. I think
Theory crafting is where it's
we're on the
at.
same page. I used to have a folder full of ridiculous mechs.
Yeah, so I run right now a Mech Warrior Destiny campaign. That's the official one of the two official BattleTech RPG books, and it has rules to integrate the tabletop classic BattleTech rules to stand in for any combat you have to do. And there's rules for, battle XP that you earn based on what you do during your combat. But anyway, all of my players, they love playing BattleTech, and then they have these points, and I'm like, oh, you could customize your. You don't like that your mech does this. It could do, A, B, and C if you let me take a crack at it. So I've customized like every single mech that my players have in our campaign.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
That's my outlet right now for that customization, and I actually get to use them, and it's not broken because it's cooperative.
That's so cool. That is so cool. So when you're playing tabletop and or painting your miniatures, is there a faction that you prefer?
Um,
Or do you paint customs?
I do paint factions. Um, I didn't think I would at first, but there's so many in Battletech lore,
Oh my
and each
gosh.
faction has, a dozen, 2 dozen paint schemes, that any custom scheme I could come up with, someone could be like, oh, that's actually, the 8th Avalon Hussars for the Federated
Right?
Sons. And I'd be like, oops, didn't mean it, but there's a few. I have painted forces for 4 of the great houses of the Inner Sphere and 1 clan. I started with the Jade Falcons, the Delta Galaxy Gear Falcons, so it's the green and yellow. I really liked that color scheme, and the guys who got me into the game to begin with, they love the clans. They, talk about how trash Inner Sphere is and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, they would. Typical
I'll
planners.
typical clanners. So I painted up. I want to say I've got 32 Falcons right now.
That's impressive.
I have a lot.
At my peak, I had 44 mechs. That was
Nice.
and that was too many. So I ran a mercenary company called Baker's Battalion,
Okay,
and it was just whatever I felt like painting that day.
that's
So
awesome. That's one
and
of the
I
fun things about going mercenary is that you can paint
yes,
whatever you want.
I had an agreement with all the other players in the area that if I won a game against them or did really well or whatever, um, I might steal part of their color scheme.
Mm.
So I showed up to a game one time after playing somebody, and I had a Warhammer, I think, and I had repainted his arm to match that guy's color scheme. Like I had salvaged his stuff.
That's super cool.
Thanks.
So besides Battletech, are there other hobbies that have you currently enthralled?
I wouldn't say enthralled. Um, Battletech's my one thing that I'm really making time for right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a few other games that I'm trying to get into. I would say that the closest thing would be the Star Wars RPG that FFG released.
Hmm.
Um, Me and that group from that store, we've been playing Edge of the Empire. We made a bunch of pirates, basically, and
Ooh,
we played
fun.
for 2.5 years, I want to say. And just recently, we got to the point where the GM sat us all down and was like, "Hey, I can't challenge you anymore. we have a base of operations. We have a fleet. We took on an Imperial sector fleet led by an Imperial Star Destroyer, and we won.
Wow.
Nice.
And that was in defense of Nal Hutta. We were high up in the Hut hierarchies, all this fun stuff. So actually, tomorrow we're starting a new game using the Age of Rebellion system.
Okay.
And this is fueled by the recent season of Andor that everyone is raving about.
Ooh, fun.
I was just gonna ask you if you've watched it.
I watched season 1 and it
Mm-hmm.
gave me so much anxiety watching
Oh
it.
no.
Oh no.
Like I was like I felt actually unwell during the heist because it's like I care about these people and I know this isn't gonna go well.
Right. You already know where it's going.
It's like the tone was just very very uh, affecting. So I
Yes.
have yet to pick up season 2.
Oh,
I
Oh,
it's
season 2 is so good.
it is good. Oh, you need to watch it because I don't want the internet to spoil it for you.
okay. I will try to find time to
Yes.
watch it. I'll
Yes.
start this week.
And yes. So what motivates you to get your game on or get your painting on when you need it?
My number one motivation, I would say, is the the community and the games that I have scheduled. So um, I have that Destiny campaign I was telling you about, where I'm running it with my friends, and I want them to face mechs that are painted up to my standards. You know, I mean, like painted up and fully based, and like I'm done with them. So I'll figure out what they're gonna fight against in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long until our next session. Figure out what force looks good, and then I'll grab my gray unpainted plastic, paint it up as quick as I can, and that's got me, you know, through quite a few models. Um, and also just the local guys are really cool about, when we show up, whoever's got new stuff that they've painted that we haven't seen in person yet, we sit at the table and everyone, we pass them around and everyone says what they like or what they think is cool about the paint jobs. And I just live for that kind of, that feedback and that
Yeah,
community.
feedback is great.
So
That sounds awesome. Very wholesome.
yeah, I'm beyond, like, words don't, like, word, words fail me to express how grateful I am for the people I found in my local community.
That's awesome. Are there other projects or games that you're interested in picking up?
Well, at Adepticon, there were quite a few demos that I,
Mm-hmm.
tried out, and there was some cool stuff. My friend who I, went with, he picked up Halo Flashpoint,
Nice.
and
I've heard
that
good things
looks,
about that.
it is a lot of fun, and it is uh, crazy when you play it how much it feels like you're actually playing Halo multiplayer, like the video game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
They captured the essence of what that matchmaking feels like, but in tabletop form. Like, for example, if you kill one of my Spartans, next round he respawns.
Oh wow. Okay.
you know, and then it's points that win the game. So it's very cool, very interesting. I bought some Halo Flashpoint and left it at the hotel room,
Oh no.
and it is gone forever.
Oh
Which
Oh.
no.
super sad, but
Oh.
that is my own fault, not paying attention. But maybe one day I'll drop the money again and get back into that.
Yeah. Hotels
But
always freak me
Oh.
out that way. I always feel like I'm forgetting something.
Mm-hmm.
oh my
Same.
gosh. But other than that, I thinking about getting back into Legion again, especially after joining the War Dolls and seeing everyone posting about their forces and the games they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And mine's been collecting dust for a little too long, so
Maybe it's time.
maybe it's time, especially with the new rules. I've heard that they're good.
Mm-hmm. I
I
like the new rules now that I've played it.
I have no complaints. I do love the new cover system, and while the mission system is good, I do see why a lot of people say it's too normal. But the fact that they are coming out with new missions and have the ability to come out with new missions um,
Mm-hmm.
I love the potential there. So And Deanne, you said you'd like to. You used to write games or play with making stuff. So I'm gonna message you after this and talk to you about a couple of things if you're interested.
I am very interested,
Okay.
especially with how low key you're being right now about everything. Being very mysterious, Cammy. So you have piqued my interest.
All right. All right. So, how do you balance your gaming interests with the other aspects of your life, if you do it all? Because I know for me, um, my life is almost pretty much gaming.
I would say very carefully. um,
That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
so I have a very young daughter, just a year old. So
Aw.
Aww.
everything has been very, very different this past year. Before that, I would say the same. I gamed all the time. I had all the time in the world for painting and doing whatever I felt like doing. But then you have a child, and then you learn the true meaning of tired for a while.
I
And
bet.
uh, yeah, she takes she's amazing. But with that, and then all my other responsibilities and work, um, what I tend to do is I schedule things well in advance. All of my game days I have to schedule, a week in advance. But uh, what I like to think about is not that I don't have time for hobbying or I don't have time for this, don't have time for that. They say you have to make time. People make time for the things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about just you know looking at everything, prioritizing things out, and then deciding when you're going to do stuff. That's one of the things I love about Hobby Hang is it's a little bit less pressure for me to think about when I'm going to do my next paint job because I'll just do the next Hobby Hang, assuming I actually show up to Hobby Hang. I
Right.
haven't been there the last couple times,
It's
but
okay. Life does get in the way. But, I have to admit as well that Hobby Hang has made uh, me have so much better motivation to get things done. I will.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tuesday. I'll start thinking, what am I going to paint? Wednesday, I'm out there
Yep.
priming stuff. You know, um, so I actually plan instead of just sitting down and going, what am I going to paint today? So it's been great. So it was a wonderful idea, me. Good job.
good job,
Good
Cammy.
job, Kimmy.
It was I don't know who. Actually, yeah. I think I just started getting in voice chat when I was painting originally, um, and people started coming in going, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm painting." What are you doing? So, and now it's a thing. So, and it's so much fun. I'm so glad everybody
It is
loves
so
it.
much fun.
No, it is awesome.
Well, we're so glad that you join us. All
Thank
of
you.
you, everybody.
All right, so we've got some rapid fire questions for you.
All right, let them rip.
First question. First question. What is your favorite Battletech model?
The Black Lantern. Absolutely just beautiful, gorgeous little chicken walker.
I don't know that one. I'm going to have to look that up. All right. Battletech or X-Wing?
Battletech, definitely.
Imperial or Rebel?
You see, that's a hard one. Um, I like Imperial tech. Like I said, the Imperial shuttle is my favorite starship of all time, and I love ties, the Tie fighters and all that. But I gotta say
Mm-hmm.
Rebel because screw the Empire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Measuring or hexes?
Hexes. I really like the very um, I was gonna say measured way that hexes work, but everything's very clean and neat on
Mm-hmm.
hexes, and it just works in a way that my brain likes.
That's fair.
In-person play or online?
I would never get to play as much as I do if online wasn't an option, but very much prefer in person whenever possible.
Dice tray, dice tower, or out in the open.
Out in the open.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how you would feel about the answer, but I'm glad to know I'm among peers here.
Yep. Do you have any pets?
Too many. Um, oh no, we got a dog. She's a rescue. She's part blue heeler, part black lab.
I love her
Oh.
already.
Yeah, her name's Deja. She's a baby. She's sleeping right behind
Oh.
me right now.
We're gonna need
You'll have to
pictures
post a
later,
picture of her at the next hobby hang. Yep.
or
Oh,
just later.
oh
Yeah, or
absolutely.
just tonight.
Maybe
I'll try and get you pictures of all of them.
I'm guessing we need a pets channel now.
Yeah, I think we do.
Not a bad idea. Love pets channels.
Clan or
But
inner sphere?
okay. Inner sphere, for sure.
Good answer.
Painting or playing?
I gotta say, painting. But if I don't play, I don't paint. So it's
Yeah, that's fair.
kind of in between, I
That's
guess.
that's actually a really good answer. I don't know how I would have answered that question, to be honest. So, what is your dream job?
It might not come as a surprise based on what we talked about, but a game designer.
Okay.
If I could sit down and just put my brain to task solving problems with, you know, gameplay mechanics, balancing, coming up with, new ideas, interesting ways to play, story elements, how to introduce a narrative with the gameplay. Like, I would love that. I could do that all day, every day.
Awesome. I love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any questions for us, or the War Dolls in general?
I got a question for you. What is your favorite Star Wars spaceship? I've said mine a couple times, but now I'm curious
Oh my
what's
gosh,
yours?
I'm funny with favorites. Sometimes favorites are situational for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I think for the longest time, when I was a kid, at least, well, of course, um, when I watched the original Star Wars in the back of my dad's car at the drive-in,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the only, because I was like 4 or 5 years old, the only thing I remember is that howl of the TIE fighter. So that
Oh,
stuck with me for
Mm-hmm.
however many years old I am now. However, I've always really, really, really liked the Y Wing.
Yeah.
As a,
mm.
at least as as a kid, before I understood, that different ships have different concept designs. Um, but when I was playing X Wing, I was really into, and now the name escapes me. Um, it was a ship on the scale of the Ghost, and I cannot remember its name. It's not the Ghost. It wasn't the Falcon. It was
Which faction was it?
it was a mercenary ship.
Was it the yellow and white circle? The
No,
Shadowcaster?
was it the Shadow? I think it was the Shadowcaster. Thank you.
Okay.
It was the Shadowcaster. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Actually from the same show as the Ghost.
Right, and I also, um, good gracious, It had. I usually flew it with Ventress, but Ketsu was the original pilot, I think, and I
Hmm.
really liked her on the show. So, but yeah, I really love that ship.
Yeah, that's a fantastic choice. The Y-wing and TIE fighters are also
Hmm.
fantastic, and that sound, I agree. That's one of the Star Wars is great for just super iconic sounds.
Oh, it is, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I love how they came up with it all. You know,
Mhm.
where at least the original stuff, like just wandering around with recording equipment, banging on things, and then feeding it through filters.
Bang on it. Does that sound like it's from outer space?
Right.
Bang on this.
So
Does that sound like it's from outer space?
just those guys just experimenting with that stuff, and that goes even further back. You can the original Doctor Who stuff where they just
Mm,
played with
Yeah.
synth and kept like refeeding it through itself and stuff like that. Just fantastic stuff.
Mhm.
super cool. So what about you, Stephanie?
So, I actually have two favorite Star Wars ships. The first one is the TIE Interceptor. I just
Excellent
absolutely
choice.
love the look of that one and the sound of it. And then because I love the Bad Batch, I have to go with the Marauder.
That's also a cool ship.
That's super fair. That's an awesome ship.
So, besides our Discord, where else can our listeners find you?
Um, I'm not really much of a social media gal,
Yeah,
so
assuming you
like,
want to be found.
Hmm.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of things. The only place I sometimes post on Blue Sky, so you could
Okay.
probably find me
Perfect.
there as Lady Zabu or at Zabuzaz, Zabuzauz, if you want to drop me a follow there. That's it.
Awesome. So, Deanne, thank you so much for joining us today. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and I was super honored that you were willing to have me on the show.
You're a war doll. Of course, we want you on the show.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for making me feel included.
You
I
are
really
included,
appreciate
and
it.
we're glad to
of
have you.
course.
So the War Dolls are a community of geeky girls here to support and inspire one another. We can be found online at thewardolls.com. We're also at the War Dolls on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And we have a very active Discord where you can come and hang out and chat and share your stuff. And links to all of these can be found on our Instagram.
And if you're interested in checking out the community, join us over on Discord where you can chat and hang out with us every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time during our voice chat hobby hang.
And as always, if you have any questions for our guests or topics that you want us to talk about, or if you have suggestions for guests or want to be a guest, let us know. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram or email us at thewardolls@gmail.com.
Until next time, let's go, War Dolls.
Awkwardly.